Welcome back to the Code Loft. In this tutorial, we're building on the quiz app series by taking it to the next level. We've already set up the quiz logic and learned how to fetch images from Google Drive. Now, it's time to make our app smarter and more dynamic. In this video, you'll learn how to connect your Thunkable app to Google Sheets to store and manage your quiz categories. First, let's get your Google Sheet ready. Create a new sheet and set up your headers. In the first row, type quiz type in column A. Then under that, list out your quiz categories, like general knowledge, science, history, or anything else you want to include. Next, we need to make this sheet accessible to Thunkable. Click the Share button at the top right of your Google Sheet, and give your sheet a name. Under General Access, change it to Anyone with the link, and make sure it's set to Viewer. This allows Thunkable to read your data correctly. Now head over to your Thunkable project. Open the Data tab and click plus Add Data Source. Choose Google Sheets, follow the prompts to connect your account, and select the sheet you just created. Thunkable will now pull in your data. Each row in your sheet can be used to generate a quiz category in your app, all without any hard coding. Once that's done, we're ready to move on and start building the dynamic buttons using the clone component. Let's set up the design for our new quiz selection screen. First, go ahead and create a new screen and name it something like Quiz Selection Screen. At the top of the screen, add a label. You can set the text to something like Select the quiz topic you'd like to do. This helps guide your users clearly. Now let's set up the layout that will hold all of our dynamically created buttons. Drag in a layout component. This will automatically come with two containers. Next, drag the second container so that it becomes nested inside the first one. Now rename the outer container to Button List, and set its scrollable property to True, and the scroll direction to Vertical. This means that even if you have lots of quiz topics in your sheet, users can scroll through all the options smoothly. Now rename the inner container to Button Container. Inside Button Container, drag in a button. This will act as the template for all the cloned quiz buttons. Style it however you like, but make sure you set the button container's visibility to false. We'll use this hidden container and button as the base for cloning all the quiz options later. That's it for the layout setup. The next step will be working with your Google Sheet to dynamically generate buttons. Head over to the Blocks tab and find the block for when Quiz Selection Screen opens. This is the event that runs when the user arrives on the quiz selection screen. Inside that event block, drag in a count with iLoop. You'll find this in the control blocks. Set the loop to count from 1 to the number of rows in your quiz questions sheet. To get the number of rows, go to the Data Sources drawer and drag in the block that says Number of rows in Quiz Questions. Now your loop will go through each row in the sheet, one by one, which is exactly what we need in order to generate a button for every quiz topic listed. Now that we're looping through the rows in our sheet, it's time to clone our button container so a new button appears for each quiz topic. Scroll down to the Any Component drawer. It's right at the bottom of the Blocks menu. From there, drag in the block that says Clone Component at Position. We're going to make a couple of changes to this block. First, change at Position to In Layout as Last In. This makes sure each new button appears one after the other inside the scrollable list. Next, for the component we want to clone, choose Button Container. That's the container we set up earlier with a button inside. Finally, for the layout to clone into, choose Button List, the vertical, scrollable layout we added to hold all the buttons. Now every time we loop through a row in the sheet, we'll clone this hidden button container. Next, let's update each cloned button so it shows the correct quiz subject from our Google Sheet. To do this, drag a Set Buttons text block from the Any Component drawer. This lets us change the text on a specific button inside our cloned container. Now here's the key part. The component we cloned is a container, but the button we want to update is inside that container. To get that button, we'll use a few blocks together. First, drag in an InList Get Number 1 of block from the list drawer. This will let us grab the first item in a list. Now go back to the Any Component drawer and drag in an All Button Components in Container block. Drop that into the list block. This will give us a list of all the buttons inside the current clone. Finally, drag the clone block's component value into the container input. This links it all together. Now for the text part, go to the Data Sources drawer and grab a Get Value from Row Object block. Set the column name to something like Quiz Type or whatever your sheet uses for quiz topics. Then, for the row ID, right-click on the I in your count with block and select Create Get I. Drag that Get I block into the row ID slot. This makes sure we're pulling data from the correct row each time. Now each button will display the correct quiz topic from your Google Sheet. Now let's do a quick bit of housekeeping to tidy things up. First, we'll give each cloned container a bit of height. This makes sure the buttons aren't squashed together and are spaced out nicely. You can set this to something like 60 pixels, or whatever looks good on your screen. Next, don't forget to set the container's visibility to true, otherwise, your buttons won't show up when the app runs. Finally, let's update our navigation flow. Head over to the Start screen and find the block where we navigate straight to the quiz screen. We're going to change that so it now goes to our new quiz selection screen instead. This way, users will first pick their quiz topic before jumping into the questions. Let's now make the quiz selection actually work by capturing which quiz topic the user taps on. First, head to the Variables drawer and create a new app variable. Call it Selected Quiz and set the initial value to an empty string. This variable will store the name of the quiz topic the user selects. Next, scroll down to the Any Components drawer and drag in a When Any Button Clicked block. Inside this block, we'll set our selected quiz variable to the text of the button that was clicked. From the Variables drawer, drag in a Set App Variable Selected Quiz block. Then from the Any Button drawer, drag in the Get Text of Component block and plug in the component input from the Event block. Now, just to test everything's working, we can set our label's text to our selected quiz variable. Test it out using the Thunkable Live app. If everything is working, you should be able to tap a topic button and see that label change to match the quiz topic you picked. Now that we've stored the selected quiz topic, let's use it to navigate into the actual quiz. First, remove the block that was updating the label with the selected quiz variable. That was just for testing. Now, in its place, drag in a Navigate to Screen block from the Control drawer. Set the screen to navigate to the quiz screen. This is where the questions for the selected topic will be shown. Then navigate to our quiz screen blocks. And this is where we'll leave it for part 1. So far, we've set up dynamic quiz topic selection, loaded our categories from a Google Sheet, and passed the user's chosen topic to the quiz screen. In part 2, we'll use that selection to filter the questions and build a fully dynamic quiz experience based on the user's choice. See you in the next video.